So I grew up in a time when the pinnacle of portable gaming was the Game Boy. Now fast forward many years later and the mad scientists at the Republic of Gamers are at it again because I have with me the most powerful gaming tablet in the world. This is the Asus ROG Flow Z13. Now the folks over at the Republic of Gamers have always been known to push the boundaries, and they're at it once again because they're giving us a glimpse in what we could be seeing in the coming years, because this 13-inch tablet, as compact as it is packing some serious hardware. Now, if you haven't seen the Flow Z13 before, it is chunkier than your traditional tablet, but it is easier to take around versus your traditional gaming laptop. I mean, if you compare it to one of their ZenBooks that I'm also checking out because I don't have a gaming laptop with me, you can see that they're about the same thickness, and this is actually extremely light as well, coming in at just 1.1 kilograms. And I don't know if you can relate, but I would have given everything to just roll up with the Flow Z13 back in the day when we had LAN parties where I had to carry my CRT monitor, my gaming tower, and all the rest of my gear. This would have been a godsend a couple of years back, let's say a decade ago, or maybe even more. I'm guessing that if you do end up getting this tablet, it's not going to end up being parked at your desk, since portability is one of the key draws after all, so I'm happy to report that it also feels very durable. Of course, that's just based on my initial impressions, but Asus and the Republic of Gamers did make sure that they used the best materials to be able to keep it as light as it is, but be able to survive being carried around. Now, I don't know if you can see it clearly, but I absolutely love the design of this tablet as well. They say it's inspired by the 20th century space race, and I definitely see that, but you also see this design language in the current streetwear. But of course, it wouldn't be a gaming device without some RGB, and I think what they've done here is really cool. You have that window so you can see what's at work under the hood, but in a classier way that's not so in your face. Now, you're most likely going to use this tablet propped up on a desk. There's also a very versatile kickstand that can adapt to your preferred viewing angles. I think it's 160 degrees, which really has me curious how this would fare on a tray table on a plane now that we can travel a bit more. Now, one thing that you do have to remember is that this is still a gaming tablet, even though it runs a full-fledged version of Windows 11, meaning the I/O on the Flow Z13 is a bit scarce. On the left side, you have a USB-C port, which is probably going to be used for charging the tablet or making sure that you're running with all engines fired up. And you also have the XG mobile interface that we're going to be talking about later on. And on the right side, you'll find its power button that pulls double duty as a fingerprint scanner, the volume rocker, and a USB-A port plus an audio combo jack. So you can plug in a mouse if you need to, but for everything else, you're gonna have to go wireless or go the dongle route if you need to plug in more accessories. Now, aside from its portability, one thing that I really appreciate with the Flow Z13 is its display. It measures in at 13.4 inches. It's slightly above full HD, so it's 19 by 20 by 1200. So the aspect ratio is 16 by 10, which means you'll be seeing black bars if you're going to be watching movies or YouTube videos, but that really doesn't bother me at all. You're also getting a refresh rate of 120 Hz, but the response time is 30 milliseconds. Now, I don't really play competitive FPS games like Valorant or Apex Legends, so I don't know if the response time is gonna give you a bit of a handicap, but I guess that's just one of the trade-offs, because remember, this is a gaming tablet after all. It is Pantone validated though and covers 100% of the sRGB color gamut, so the music videos that we're playing on screen look good in person, but in terms of photo and video editing, we'll see how that goes when we test it out more. I think I forgot to mention this, it's an IPS level display that's also a touchscreen, but anyway, let's move on to the good stuff. What's actually powering this monster of a tablet? So there are two configurations that are going to be made available to us here in the Philippines. There's one with a 12th Gen i7 processor, 16GB of RAM, an RTX 3050, and a 512GB SSD. And then you have the configuration with me. This has pretty much the same specs, except you get a bump down to an i5, and we're only getting Iris Xe graphics. So the big question is, can it actually play full-fledged games? The answer is yes. Yes, it can, but with a few caveats. Of course, this is gonna run indie titles really well, so if you're like me and haven't given Hades a run for its money, you'll have no problems, plus all the other lighter titles that I have in my backlog didn't have an issue running on the Flow Z13. But what about AAA titles? Now you do have to be plugged in for this and lower the settings all the way down, but I was able to run Elden Ring on the Flow Z13 and I was surprised that it ran as smooth as it did. To be fair, I'm still starting off on my quest to become the Elden Lord, but I was expecting this to be a nightmare. I haven't run into any big mobs yet or one of the bigger bosses, so we'll see how it does once we get to the full review, but I was pretty much running in the mid to high 20s, not too bad. I was still able to farm a little bit. By the way, quick detour, can I just say I love this Xbox controller. I've always been a PlayStation guy, but this feels so good in the hand, and I really recommend using a controller if you're going to be using the Flow Z13, especially for Elden Ring. Of course, one of the great things about the whole Flow lineup from ROG is that you have the option to purchase and connect it to their XG mobile station. This gives you access to even more I/O ports if you really need to hunker down with all of your gear, plus the one they lent to me has a full-on RTX 3080 on board. With this power up, I was able to bump up the settings on Elden Ring to its highest to really enjoy this gem of a game that From Software made that really frustrates the hell out of me, but the gameplay was a lot smoother, so there's really only myself to blame for all those deaths. With the Flow Z13 plugged in and now the XG mobile station, I haven't found a way to lay everything out so that it looks good, but having the option to give that gaming tablet a boost is a really good one if you have the budget. As for battery life, they say this can last up to 12 hours, but we haven't fully tested out the endurance of its 56 watt-hour battery, but we're guessing you're gonna have to keep their 100-watt charging brick handy at all times. Don't worry though, it doesn't really take up a lot of space in your backpack, plus it only weighs 300 grams. Of course, before we end this video, I have to talk about the price of the Asus ROG Flow Z13, and I'm gonna give you a second to get ready. Ready? Now I'll have all the specs up on screen, but for the i7 version, that's just shy of 100,000 pesos. So that's 99,995. And for the one that we have that has an i5 processor and Iris Xe graphics, it's 84,995 pesos. Now, if you want the XG mobile station to go along with it, there's also two versions. The one with the RTX 3080 is priced at 89,990 based on a Lazada listing that we found. But if you want to go Team Red, there's one with a Radeon RX 6850M XT that's priced at 69,995 pesos. It's so hard to remember all these product names, to be honest. And yes, I know you should have also seen my face when I saw how much everything was gonna cost, but this is the price of pushing tech forward. The ROG Flow Z13 is not gonna be for everyone, because if you want all the top stuff, that's almost 190,000 pesos. Now, you could get a full-fledged gaming laptop that's more affordable, but depending on what you do and how much you value portability, the Z13 could be a real game changer. So that's pretty much my first impressions of the Asus ROG Flow Z13. Like I said in the start, for someone who started off with a Game Boy and saw the evolution of gaming devices to what we have now, this tablet really blew my mind. Anyway, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, sub to the channel, make sure you hit that notification bell. If you have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll try my best to get to them as soon as I can. For all the latest in tech, head to Unbox.ph, plus follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and listen to our podcast on Spotify. My name is Tito James. Peace, God bless, see you guys next time, and stay safe. Plane. YouTuber life for you.